recently moved to Scotland, and am a user researcher and UX designer after previous careers. So like many people in UX, we are curious folks who have explored all kinds of things. So I was a humanities teacher, and then I sold real estate in New York City for a while. But
an interesting journey.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So Sam and I are the interviewers, and we're both kind of designer researchers, and we're doing this kind of zine experiment, which is we're talking to other creatives like ourselves, and also talking to startups and business owners. So I mean, it's kind of exploring those two worlds, and I think to see what's happening at the moment. Yeah. And then we're not sure what the plan is after that, but we want to do this kind of run of interviews, just talking to interesting people, and see what it tells us. So for Steve, do you maybe just want to introduce yourself quickly, and how's your day going?
Yeah, so my name's Steve Owens. I'm one of the founders of a company called Huli. Day's going well. I've recently been awarded a Royal Society of Edinburgh fellowship, which allows me to focus on my company for a full year. So we are a spin out of the University of Strathclyde.
Okay.
And so that means that we're sort of linked to that university.
Yeah.
And this morning I have been taking part in my first training course as part of that fellowship. So that's how my day's gone so far.
So is that the kind of thing that they offer so many a year, or one a year or something like that?
No, there's a few a year. There's actually, I think they open it twice a year, and it depends. It depends on who applies and how much funding they've got, how many they award. But as part of my cohort, there's 6 of us in total. And it's not just Scotland, it's from across the UK.
Okay, awesome. So that's fairly prestigious. So when you say spin off from the university, were you an academic, or was it a kind of startup incubated by the university or something like that?
No, I've got a PhD from University of Strathclyde as well, so I've been there for a while now. But yeah, so it's built on some IP that we created in the university, and then we've spun that out. So we licensed some IP from the university as part of our product.
Okay, that sounds. What were you studying?
So it's kind of it's abstract when you think of the company, but ultimately I have a PhD in astrodynamics, so spacecraft trajectory design.
Right. Okay.
Where I've come from, and the other co-founder, he has a PhD in data routing and data networks. So looking at how you would take data from one satellite. Well, the application was satellite, but it's actually just networks generally. So looking at how you move one piece of information, be it data, be it something else, through a network in the most efficient or the most robust way possible. And ultimately, how that links to the company is we've taken that premise of how you route something through a network and applied it to the outdoors, and how we route a cyclist, a runner, or a hiker, or anyone else that's interested in outdoor sports through a network that would be paths and roads as you would know them.
Magic. Right, that brings us on to the next question then. Seamless link there. So do you want to just pitch your product then? Pitch Huli to us in 1 minute.
Yeah, sure. So Huli it's a product that ultimately should make the outdoors a bit more accessible, and a bit more accessible to anybody that's interested in using technology. So what we do is we simply ask someone what it is they're wanting to get from an activity. And that can be, as I said before, running, cycling, hiking, any sort of outdoor activity. You just have an idea of what you want as the user. So for example, that you want to go for a 2-hour walk or a 2-hour cycle, or you want your cycle to have a certain amount of elevation gain in it. If you're a road cyclist, you're interested in how much climbing you can do in one go, or you might be interested in going for a 2-hour walk or a cycle or a certain distance. So you just give us those preferences, and that's it. You tell us where you want to start and end, and we'll find a route that matches those preferences. It's as simple as that. So for me, user experience is fundamental to that, because we want it to be as simple and as streamlined as possible. We don't want a lot of, you shouldn't have to have an engineering degree to understand how to use this product. It should be a simple case of, I want to do this. Oh, there's the answer.
Sam, do you want to jump in?
Sure. I'm curious, sort of going right off of that, who were sort of the imagined users? Were they people that were already in your life? Did you meet other folks sort of through some kind of recruiting technique to validate the idea that you had?
Yeah, so it was kind of the idea came originally because I myself am a customer, and so is the fellow co-founder. So it was something we thought we would use as people that are interested in these sports. And then through that, we've started to speak to some road cycling clubs and other people that we think would use it. And we also ran some testing last year, just launching a sort of, call it an alpha product or a beta product, but so an early stage product where we've signed up quite a fair few users who have been giving us some feedback and so forth on the product. So given the amount of people we signed up in a short period of time, I think that sort of hints at there is a want for something like this. So we've tried to validate it through that.
How did that testing go? I'm just out of curiosity, like what did it look like and what was the response?
Yeah, so the product was, it was pretty early, and it ended up being a big bug finding mission, which was great actually, because we got a lot of feedback. We did get a lot of ideas in terms of where we can take the product, and we wanted that, but we also got a lot of feedback on how we can like fix or make the product better. And we knew we were going to get that. So ultimately we just created a big bug list for us that we can then work through and, make things work a lot better. So that was good. But generally, yeah, we just put it out there and said, please use it, please break it, tell us what's wrong with it, and don't be shy.
Bobby, do you want to jump in? Or?
I'm sorry, I just talked to my daughter. She's on holiday this
week. No worries.
So Daddy's interviewing. But you'll need to give us a second, okay? What were you going to say, Sam?
I was going to ask, for the university grant program, what resources aside from financial do they potentially offer you? So how has that impacted you so far, and how do you think it could impact you moving forward?
So generally, yeah, they just offer softer support around most topics. In the early days, it was very much, is this something that you can commercialize? Is there a business opportunity there? And slowly, as we've actually spun out of the university and become our own company, it's been relatively light touch, and we'll only go to them when we need to sort of chat to them about something. But other than that, it's like, for example, the fellowship is a good example of where they would support me, because that fellowship has to be tied to an institution. So I would apply alongside alongside Strathclyde, because that's the university I've spun out of. And just other support. I can go to them and ask for advice or support around anything else. Also, just access to academics as well. There's a lot of just being part of the university has enabled me to know a lot of people in that environment that can help the company. So it just gives links into that.
Got it.
Yeah. Is that a particular department? Like, is there kind of an entrepreneurial bit of the university that's helping incubate companies like yours?
Yeah, so Strathclyde itself has an entrepreneur hub, but it also has a pretty good business school. So we've been able to take advantage of, master's programs, master students that are looking for projects and they want to work with real companies. Right. So effectively, we can help them, and they can help us, because they help us do some market research on, areas that we want to look at. And same goes for example, computer science. There's projects that they want their students to have interest in projects, and we want to do interesting stuff, so we can work alongside them, and because we just know how the sort of university works, so to speak, we can get those projects set up relatively quickly.
Magic. And would it be like business students, like entrepreneurs, I guess, for the layman? That's the thing they're interested in, is it?
Not necessarily. Like the last project we did was international marketing, for example, in the business school. So they're more interested in like how you market things to people and how you understand what market sizes are and who your customers are and so forth.
Did you learn through that project ideas about pricing and subscription models and how culturally that might vary in different locations? Or
yeah, exactly. And that's the kind of stuff that I reckon you pay a reasonable amount of money to go to a marketing consultancy to get, and because it's working with a master's level students, then the output is actually really quite high. The sort of quality of the work is really high, so you're getting like a lot of good value from that. And again, it's sort of twofold, because we give them a real company or something that they can work with and actually see how it might benefit us. Then that sort of motivates them as well.
Okay, grand. I've already forgotten a list of generic questions that that I'd sent through today. So that's another seamless link. Maybe this is the inevitable discussion, but how has the current lockdown affected your business? What are you doing to cope?
Yeah, it's not that bad for us at the moment, because we've not officially launched like a sort of paying product yet. Or we're not in a market where we're generating revenue yet. So for us, we're still doing development. Although we've got users who have tested the product and so forth, we've not asked them for any money yet. So it's not like we've seen our revenue slow down. But going forward, yeah, it's definitely going to have an impact, in the sense that we are probably looking to raise an investment round. Well, that was the original plan. Like, we were looking to raise some investment, but that might change what we do there, just because the market is changing, and investors are likely to be a bit more risk averse. And yeah, so we are just sort of assessing it as we go. But at the current state of play, like, it's okay, because the fellowship is a great thing for me. I'm working full time in the company, but my salary currently is just linked to this fellowship program, so there's no real like issue as of yet. But when we start to sell the product, that's where we'll maybe see the impact of it. Although, saying that, like, the product we have is an outdoors product. It's designed to get people outside. It's designed to get them doing exercise. And if anything, it's going to help in this sort of lockdown. And we can generate nice, interesting routes close to your house. We can generate routes that match like time requirements. So you can do an hour's route, or you can do a set distance route. So it actually has a real sort of benefit in this lockdown sort of state that we're in. But
I was wondering. Go ahead. Well, I was wondering if that sort of colors the idea of what your sort of like first launch might be. In other words, if the market, because of coronavirus, shifts to a very different sort of demand for outdoor activity, are you rethinking a little bit what version 1 looks like to the consumer?
I suppose like our version 1 is almost always kind of suited this kind of like, this kind of user that might want to go out and do a specific activity or relatively close to their home, because so it doesn't really change it the way in my head, because it's kind of not designed for that person, but it suits that person anyway, as well as suiting anybody else that might use it. We might just sort of change it, I suppose, because we were maybe going after more targeted individuals, so maybe people that were really focused on set sports, whereas the same technology works for people that are just interested in a walk. You know what I mean? So you might just be like, that might be a user experience thing more than anything else. It's like, how do you actually get that person in front of it that maybe isn't used to using like technology related to outdoor sports, just to give them something to use? So how the app might look, for example.
Yep.
Grand, you're talking our language. Because you're thinking of the end user, and there's maybe 2 broad types. Are you thinking of doing any research around those? Like, just if you've got those 2 broad types, just a walk versus a set sports, maybe more of an expert or something.
Yeah, well, we've done a bit before already, and we've focused on sort of road cycling and mountain biking / just sort of off-road stuff. Not really done much in the walking stuff yet, but I think for us, we're still driving forward with the back end technology, and like, yeah, we want to do a big focus on the user experience stuff, but not quite yet. Mainly because we're our sort of we're a limited resource, so we have to focus our attention on certain things, and that's just getting the thing working well in the beginning.
This one. Okay. So another one related to that, is it, just remind me, is it primarily an app, that like a native app that you're thinking of offering, and you think that'll be the most usage?
Yeah, so currently it's just we're just a website, so we're an online platform on the web. But yeah, we're going to get ourselves to an app where you can just use it on iOS or Android, and ultimately the key idea is that you'll export. You'll create a route with our app or our website, and you'll export it to the device that you're interested in using. So that might be a cycling computer, it might be a running watch, like it could be an Apple smartwatch, for example, and just the technology that you currently use in order to go do your activity. But there is the option there to just build it into the app as well, so that the app also does effectively the navigation and so forth.
That's one. And was that a conscious decision? The way it is in my mind is that a native app, I guess, has different kind of overheads. Like you need someone on top of iOS and Android and so on. Was that kind of your thinking as well?
Or are you meaning in relation to like a sort of progressive app?
That's another good solution. Like, but I was just thinking of your choice for doing. Did you consciously do right? We'll make it a website first because that's lower overheads.
Mainly because we thought that would be the people that we know that use route planners as such tend to go to websites in order to create routes, and that's actually something that we think we can change to some extent, because route planners up until this point has been similar to what Google Maps is, and it's all very point by point. So you'll say I want to go from point A to point B, but you can't ask Google Maps to go point A to point A, if that makes sense. And it doesn't make sense from a Google Maps usage point of view, because you're normally going in a car and you're normally going a journey that's one way. Whereas because we're trying to create routes that often bring people back to where they started, it simplifies the problem, because you're not having to plot points on a map. You're just asking for like high level parameters of set distance or set time or something, so you can turn it into an app. So that means it's easier to transfer that into a sort of mobile app as well, because you don't require the same sort of space to display maps and so forth. If that makes sense.
Okay.
I'm curious for like, what is the before Huli, what is the sort of like mental model for someone who needs to interact with this sort of technology in order to like stay on route, but at the same time they need to be mindful of safety, right? They're riding on a bicycle on a road, for example, so they don't want to take out like a big smartphone in the middle of that. So like how did that level of interactivity in terms of like pre-trip, during trip, and also this like within an app, how did you make sense of that in order to direct your sort of the work on the back end of engineering?
Yeah, so like that's kind of where I suppose where we've been different. We've just, before you would go into one of these apps, you would generate a route by plotting points on a map, for example, and then you would have to export that route onto your device, and then the device would just, if you're riding a bike, for example, it would sit in your handlebars and it would give you turn by turn directions. And that device could be your phone, it could be, you get cycling computers, it could be a smartwatch, whatever you're choosing. So the technology part is just how you create the route. So that's the bit that we're focusing on, and ultimately we would just export that route to a device. So the sort of IP that we have is in how we create the route, and how it's displayed to the user doesn't really change. They'll just keep going the way they've always displayed their route or followed their route. We're just changing the very start process.
Right. Are there pain points in the outside of the IP, like in that? So like, again, before your technology was introduced, did users, specifically you, have issues just interacting with the technology through a bike ride, for example?
Well, the one thing, if you're already riding a route on your bike, then it's normally pre-programmed. So if you want to change things mid-route, then that's where things become a bit more difficult, because especially if you don't know where you are. If you're on holiday, for example, and you want to change it up halfway through the route, then there's sort of pain points there where you then would have to sort of try and figure out where you go to get to the new point you want to go to, so forth. Whereas with our system, the idea would be that you can just pull out your phone, create a new route from your current start point to your new endpoint or wherever it is you want to go, and then just re-upload it, and it would go from there. Or, ultimately get to the point where we're dynamically routing you based on information you can input as sort of efficiently as possible.
Yep.
But the pain points before were that you were having to sit down in front of a computer or an app and sort of plot all these points on a map. And yeah, the technology would join the dots between these points that you're plotting. But I mean, that's still putting the effort on you to do that. So you're still putting these points on a map. And if you're going to somewhere new where you've never been before, so for example, on holiday or in a city you've never visited, then how do you know where you should be running or walking or cycling?
Right. Cool.
Okay. That's really interesting. So we're thanks. You've talked us through the whole cycle, and it's interesting, like the way you've got a good understanding, I guess, of where your technology fits in. You started off maybe with a couple of pain points from kind of customers like yourself who are interested in cycling and so on, and then you've got this IP, which is the technology in the middle of it. But then you're kind of agnostic how people export it or use it, something like that. We'll try to keep these interviews to about 20 minutes, so it's like a 2-minute read. So that's lots of stuff for us to mull over. That's really good. I had one final question for me. Do you have any advice for kind of startups like yourselves? And I mean, I guess, think of it as just other startups who spun out from universities. Do you have any bits of advice to give them?
The only one I'd say is focus. I mean, we've even been guilty of this, but just trying to address too many things at once just leads to you spreading yourself too thinly. Whereas if you just have one pain point and you can, hone in on that, then you can really focus and really produce something good for that one customer need.
Right.
I mean, I think you get dragged in all different directions throughout the startup process, be it to try and raise investment earlier than you probably should, or, just general stuff that you probably shouldn't pay too much attention to. So just try and find one or two things to focus on and cut out the rest of the noise.
Sure. Okay. I had a little question from earlier as well. Like, what are you doing to seek funding? Are you trying angel investment or something like that?
Yeah, just looking at all options. So we've spoken to a few different investors and so forth, and we're just exploring what's out there.
Yeah. Listen.
So,
well, you got company.
Yeah.
Well, that was all the questions for me. Thanks. That was like, a lot of rich data for us to sort of mull over. And we'll probably do a YouTube version of it, and we'll find a permanent home for the zine. But at the moment, it's just a sequence of LinkedIn posts. Sam, did you have any final questions or?
No, I mean, that covered, I think, sort of everything that we're doing. I guess maybe one thing we didn't ask is there one tool that you've used along the way that has been invaluable, like one website or app or functionality that has helped you along?
We use a lot of Python, AWS.
Okay.
If that's what you're getting at. Yes.
What's the advantage of? I mean, I know Python is. I think it's meant to be quite an easy language to pick up and things like that. I've heard that's an advantage.
Yeah.
And what is there an advantage in AWS as well?
AWS are very good at giving startups a lot of credit, as in money credit. But yeah, generally their stuff is pretty easy to use as well. So it sets it up from our perspective, it sets it up for scaling pretty easily. So if we were to roll it out to like bigger areas or have a large volume of users, then it's pretty well set up for that.
Yeah.
Saves you managing your own servers and stuff.
Okay. Do you have a dev on board, like just in your team? Do you have a developer?
No, we've had developers sort of working for us and then going off again. Just as their money sort of our cash flow situation changes, we have people working for us and then we don't. Yeah. So currently it's just me and the other co-founder who do all this stuff.
Are you learning to code a bit yourselves?
Yes, we're pretty well. We're not computer scientists by any stretch of the imagination, but we've done a lot of like programming and so forth through our PhDs. So it's kind of it seems to go from part and parcel with an engineering PhD that you have to learn to code.
So you're right. Okay, so you might bring in people who do nothing but development from time to time, but you're also
like we can develop the code.
Yeah, magic. Right, I might cut it, not cut it short, cut it long. But thanks again for talking to us. Stay in touch, and you know, we might turn the zine into a meetup. All meetups are in the cloud at the moment, so you know, hopefully you can do a presentation or something exactly where you are if you're interested. But thanks for speaking to us today. And
and I mean, from my perspective as well, thanks for getting in touch. I'm always looking for ways that we can improve the Huli itself. So as I said, we have an online platform. You can go log in, you can go use it. And we're always looking for feedback on how we can improve the way it functions, and especially from the UX stuff, because as I said, like the one thing I want to achieve with this is to make it really simple to use.
Sure.
So any ideas, stuff you have, then please fire them on my way.
Yeah, I know at least one designer who's a runner, but think about it. I probably know a few cyclists as well, but okay, good stuff.
Yeah, cool.
All right,
very good.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Cheers. Catch you there.
Have a nice day. Bye for now.
Yeah, you too.
Cheers.
Bye bye.
That's cool. Thanks, mate.